Okay, there is a video here, guys, I wanted to watch called What the Holy heck, we can't say those words. WTF happened to MMOs.
If you're anything like me, odds are you've been waiting quite some time now for a new MMO to come along that's totally engrossing. Something that immediately hooks you because it's fun to play, the world is immersive, there are novel elements that make the game feel new and exciting. On top of that, all your friends are playing, it's the only thing you want to talk about and the only thing you care to do with your free time, and maybe even much of your not so free time as well. You know the feeling very well, actually, because it's happened to you before. You can actually look back and point to various games in your past that conjured up this exact situation.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's been a while, maybe too long even. And you know, that's...
You know, it's like, you know, you're really into an MMO or just a game in general. Whenever you, like, when you go to bed, it's what you think about. And when you wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, whenever you're sitting in school or you're at work or something, you're like, oh, what could I do to increase my character? Maybe I should level here today. Maybe I should try to do some dungeons here. It's like, it's when you, it's all you think about, man, in a way. Maybe that's like a bad thing as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, that might be a little bit of everything in moderation, guys, okay? But you know what I mean, you know? What's up, Labyrinth?
Because there are never any new MMOs coming out, right? Like, we just keep playing the same games over and over again.
There is new MMOs.
Well, what if I told you there are actually over 40 new MMOs and MMO lights being developed at this very moment? You'd probably say I'm full of it, but I'm not. Look at this list. Every single game here is confirmed to be in development right now. Many of them even claim to be releasing in the next 1 to 2 years. On one hand, you could actually say there's never been a better time to be an MMO fan. I'm fairly certain, actually, there has at least never been a time where we've had so many new MMOs in active development that we were aware of. Even excluding all of the MMO lights, there are at least 30 of the more traditionally structured MMOs on the list. And there's
40 new WoW killers. I mean, there's always been a buttload of games. I feel like in general, like nowadays, I know a lot of people are very, very doomer about, like, you know, the gaming scene and stuff like that, but I think there's tons of great games out there. I just think the problem with MMOs is that it's a big time investment, right? It's like you have to really get invested into the world. You have to, like, have all your boys playing it for it to be fun. Whereas other games, like, for instance, Elden Ring and stuff like that, if you play Elden Ring, you can just go in and play Elden Ring by yourself. You don't really have to be, you know, tied down with your friends really to play it, or you can just kind of do it by yourself. And MMOs, I don't know, it's very much the social aspect what makes MMOs great, and for it to be a great one, it has to have a lot of people wanting to play it too, right? It's a very mainstream thing, I suppose.
Almost certainly some games I missed or forgot. I mean, it is nuts, but at the same time, how many of these games are most of us going to be playing for more than a week or two? I don't know. Probably not a lot of them, and boy, is that well, that sure is something, and a bit disappointing, right? Like,
I just like playing the games I've always played, man. Just a good log into my classic WoW, log into my Warcraft 3, log into my good old Dark Souls or something, and just play what I know, right? I don't know.
From my perspective as a player, knowing full well many of the pitfalls most of these games will stumble into, the result of which being, I'll probably just play them for a few days, maybe a week or two.
But I'm speaking about MMOs. I really love, like, great new games, but I'm talking about from an MMO perspective. It's really hard for me to get into a new MMO, right? I tried New World, actually, and New World was... it was quite okay overall, I would say, but it just wasn't really for me. I think my idea what makes an MMO fun is so specific because I'm so used to World of Warcraft, right? So, like, I can enjoy other games for what they are, but in terms of MMOs, I'm very specific with what I like.
Then I'll be done. It's really hard for that reason to get too excited for most of what we see here. I still follow it, and I am interested in these games, and I will check them out, don't get me wrong, but I would be pleasantly surprised if even 1 or 2 of these games actually deliver on that feeling and experience I know myself, and probably many of you out there are looking for. And that is not me saying that these are necessarily going to be bad games. I don't think that. I don't think that playing a game for just a couple of weeks is even a bad thing. In fact, it's almost preferable in a lot of cases. We swim in a never-ending glut of games. There are more new games released every year than I even have time to play. All of this added onto the backlog of games that I'll probably never find the time to get to either. And doing gaming stuff is my full-time job. People who have other full-time jobs, it's certainly even much, much worse. As I've talked...
I feel like as well, though, like, you don't have to... Like, there's nothing wrong with buying a game and then like playing it for what it is, and then like when you play it after a week or two, you don't really play it again. Like, if you spend a certain amount of money on it and you get like weeks worth of like, entertainment, that's pretty goddamn good. Depending how much you pay, obviously. Like Elden Ring. I keep mentioning Elden Ring because it's a newish game, right? But like, you buy, I don't remember what it was, like $50 or something. I had 100 hours in that game, right, for $50. That's a lot of entertainment value for that amount. Same thing with Only Up. Only Up, I played a whole lot as well, and it wasn't that much money in terms of how much you spend time on it, right? You don't have to find that one game you can play forever, right? It's okay just to play it a little bit. Me and Diablo 4. Diablo 4, I'm actually surprised at how little I got into playing Diablo. I thought I was going to be way more excited about that, but...
About before, there's just not enough time to play all of the games, even all of the good games, let alone some of the mediocre and bad ones. So yeah, not every game needs to last forever. Most games won't. It's unrealistic. And I don't even really want that from most of my games, most of the games that I play. But man, when one comes along that really sinks its hooks in, it is something else. I love it. It's one of the experiences that makes gaming as a hobby so very special, barring that experience also doesn't simultaneously destroy
Darth Tarak, thank you.
Every other aspect of my life. Happens on occasion. I've been there. Don't worry, guys. I get.
Dude, when you get so much into a game that it literally takes over your life and you focus more on progressing the in-game things than in progressing in your real life, that's when you know it's a little bit of an issue, okay? That's when, like, maybe you reached a point where you are too into the game, okay? WoW taught me that if a game doesn't last forever and I can't play it forever, I won't play it. It's really like a toxic mindset, honestly, that you feel like you have to find that evergreen game you can play forever, right? There's nothing wrong with buying a game or like trying a game and playing it for a week or two and then not playing it anymore, right? That should be okay.
And from MMOs, our expectation level is certainly higher than just a few days to a week, especially with how big and expansive these games are supposed to be and how long they spend in development. We go in wanting a lot more than that, but the fact of the matter is most games won't deliver that, and even if most games could, you would only play but a fraction of them. So we are just looking for those pinnacle experiences in gaming to come along. So realistically, looking at that list that I showed you earlier, yes, I don't expect many of these games will keep me around for very long. Most of this list I will play for a few days to a week to check them out, to have my fun or not have fun, and then I'll move on. Will any of them last longer than that? I don't know. I mean, even if I had to make a prediction, it is very hard to tell. You really just never know what game will come along at just the right time with just the right elements to be something that you sink your teeth into. That sort of guesswork is what investors do all day professionally, deciding where to place their money, where to put MMOs, their bets on which game will become the next Minecraft, the next Fortnite, the next Call.
I mean, in terms of MMOs, there's like, what is it, the... Ashes of Creation, and then like, Riot Games, the MMO. Those are the two big ones that everybody's expecting to be the WoW killers, right? But I don't really know. I feel like for me, I probably have a lot higher expectation for Riot than I do for what is it called, Ashes of Creation. I don't know. I played the alpha for Ashes of Creation. It seemed very similar to New World in many ways, but I mean, we'll see whenever we get like a beta on like more really footage of it, but we'll have to figure it out, right? Riot is pretty busy, it seems. Yeah, but the games that Riot has come out with has always been pretty goddamn decent, right? Like Team Fortress, I mean, they take ideas for games and then they make their own spin on it, like they did with the League of Legends from Dota, like they did with TFT as well on Valorant, right? Team Fortress, I mean, Team Fortress was like, that's Overwatch with Team Fortress, right? But, we'll see.
Call of Duty, you name it. It ain't easy to predict this kind of thing.
You can't kill WoW because you can't reinvent the wheel, sort of. I don't think there's ever going to be like a WoW killer, right? But I do think eventually WoW will probably just fizzle out to have like a very unique, very niche community, right? Because retail is becoming more and more different, and then we have the classic WoW thing. It's just becoming like a niche amount of players that kind of play it. Somewhat similar to OSRS, right? OSRS just have the players that enjoy it, and it is like a little niche game, but there's still like a big player base that likes it. It's not that it's a dead game. There is actually like quite a thriving game, but it's just the people like it for what it is, right? WoW will kill itself if they keep being a bunch of baboons. I don't know if WoW will ever fully die. I really don't think it will. Unless they decide to just like, end it off completely and have a judgment day. But yeah. Asmund is right, they need to hit the delete button for WoW and start fresh. I would absolutely love to see a complete reset on WoW and just do a WoW 2. But that is the ultimate copium. That is like the ultimate copium of our WoW players, okay? We would all love to see like a WoW 2, but I don't think they have the balls to do it. I just don't think so. Hurdle Kane, thank you for the 5 months Prime.
We'd have a whole lot more millionaires. So. It's even harder with indie games. Like, very few people predicted the success of, say, Valheim or Vampire Survivors.
Oh, that was a good game.
But when they launched and people got to...
Dude, this game was so good. Probably, Basti, thank you for the 17 months. Probably best value for money in terms of any games, man. I think this game cost like $2 or something. I played it so much.
Play and word got around, it was immediately
right?
pretty clear that there was something special there. The safest bets, like if we're
it's fun,
playing it safe, it's always going to be some of those big budget games, the AAA games. Okay. They, at the very least, tend to have a better than average chance when it comes to many of the crowdfunded or indie MMOs on the list here. As we all know, though, AAA budget doesn't always mean AAA gameplay experience. It just sets the bar a little higher for what we can expect from the visual.
I feel like in a way, like whenever it's a AAA game, like a big massive company doing it, you almost expect too much and you always end up getting disappointed. That's why like a lot of those like indie developers, whenever they come up with a banger game, it's like, how the hell did they make this? But it's because you don't really have expectations of it. You just go into it with like, oh, this is like a cheap game, we'll just give it a whirl, and you get like pleasantly surprised, right? So it's cool. Same thing with Halls of Torment. I didn't play too much, but so far, a very, very amazing experience as well. And it's made from like one guy, I believe, right?
From the animation quality, from the size of the world, from the game's polish, all of those things, the bar is just a little higher. And for that reason, yes, it's got a better chance. And it's for that reason that I've got higher hopes for a lot of these unannounced MMOs from...
Yeah, because you get surprised. What happened to Dark and Darker? I don't know what happened with that. There was like that whole lawsuit. I don't know if it was an actual lawsuit or what happened with some... With that company what they were working for. I don't really know the details of that, but that's another big example of like just like a random game coming out and then it being fantastically good. So they're still in the lawsuit. The lawsuits are still going on. Okay, I figured. I mean, yeah, it's a shame, right? Still lawsuit. I don't think that's gonna that game is gonna come out. Probably not. It might end up in a situation where it's just. They just can't because they're like just stuck between a rock and a hard place, right?
From the bigger studios. We're talking Riot Games, League of Legends based MMO, the MMO from the Elder Scrolls Online studio, ZeniMax Online Studios. They're making a brand new MMO. We've got the Horizon themed MMO from Sony. We've got Blizzard's survival game, and then there is the last if you want, but yes, the Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO. Hey man,
I completely forgot Blizzard announced that they're making a survival kind of game. That completely just like I forgot about that completely.
They can take parts of New World and craft that into a Lord of the Rings setting and just make it better.
They forgot to. Yeah, they probably forgot as well.
I mean, again, like with most of these games, I'll definitely check it out. That said, any of these could fail miserably. Again, because AAA budget doesn't mean AAA user end experience. It could be garbage, and a few of these likely will fail miserably.
Yeah.
Don't say Amazon. Okay, fine, you can say Amazon. They deserve it. But again, I would say that I have better than average expectations from these games compared to...
I'm surprised people are still trying to make MMOs. I really am too. Like, from what we can see, there's a ton of MMOs coming out and like, being in development and stuff like that. I just feel like gamers are just different nowadays. People are just different. Like MMOs are like a dying breed. It really is. So I don't know. It's the old MMO gamers that make the new ones, I think. Yeah, probably. It's probably like a lot of people who grew up when MMOs were at the peak with like OSRS and I guess like RuneScape back then and EverQuest and World of Warcraft and stuff, and they want to like replicate that. That's the whole thing with the Ashes of Creation guy. Like he was like an MMO Andy. He's like some rich guy, and then like he's trying to make his own MMO as well. It's just a whole different. It's a different way of playing games than most people do now. New World was popular, and then it just crashed and burned. Yeah, because MMOs are like, you have to get invested into the games. People have to have like a reason to get into playing them, and like whether it's the story or the world or the game, or it has to have a reason for people to really invest all their time into it, right? Because that's what MMOs are. They're just investments in the game. I think as long as the initial incentive is money and the upcoming MMOs will fail, what made WoW special is that the devs wanted the game to be good. Yeah, it was like a passion thing more so. I mean, maybe not a passion thing, but it was a lot more of like making a great game rather than let's make a lot of money, right? But that's how it was back in the day, I suppose.
The slew of the crowdfunded and indie MMOs that are on the list. I will say I do also have some hopes for a lot of these MMO lights. Some of them I think are quite promising. Near the top would be Dune Awakening. I love Warframe enough to be very interested in what they do with Soulframe. I also think Nightingale seems pretty darn promising.
That looks cool.
Very narrowly made this list of what we call an MMO. But anyways, but just about every MMO light actually that you see here, I am interested in playing for at least a little while. When it comes to that main list, though, of those confirmed, more what we would consider traditional MMOs, ones that kind of live up to the general infrastructure and what we think of as a classic MMORPG like World of Warcraft and everything in that vein, that main list of 30 or so games, I mean, that is a massive grab bag. It's really hard to say. I do expect a majority of them will fall into the couple of weeks tops.
Is it because, I know a lot of people say there's no good games. Is it because there's just too many games to choose from nowadays? There's just so much to pick from that you don't even know what you want to pick at this point, right? Blizzard cared about the game, though, compared to New World, where I don't think any of the devs have even played their own game. Yeah, probably. I mean, I think so for sure. I think it just, but it might be one of, it's too spread out. Like back in the day, there was like a new game. It was like the game, right? And it's very much like a what game is popular is the one that people play, right? Whatever gets pushed out by, I guess, like all the big creators and what gets like, because people want to play whatever is popular, right? You don't want to play a game that nobody else is playing, you know? We'll do some gameplay soon sometimes.
What I would expect, with maybe a few of them breaking through beyond that. But I don't have a ton of long-term hope for most of these, unfortunately enough to say. Yes, even the online MMO fanboy poster child.
I disagree with you. At some of the game lineups from 2003, 2004, 2005, banger after banger. Oh yeah, there was great games back then, but I also think there's great games nowadays. I think definitely people are very like a doomer when it comes to like games nowadays. I don't really think that like games nowadays suck. I just think people want them to suck a lot of the times as well, right? There's a lot of great indie games and there's a lot of great like AAA games as well, I think, right? For sure. There's also shit games back then. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course there was, right? Tell us 5 good games like that's like kind of recent-ish. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, Elden Ring for one. There's also like a buttload. I mean, I'm not a big variety Andy, but like Subnautica, I have not played. Subnautica is new-ish, I guess. That's from 2013 or 2014 or 15 or so. I can't really like just name all the games in the world that's good. Zelda, Breath of the Wild, never played that myself, but I heard a lot of positive reception from that. In terms of indie games, there's, you know, Vampire Survivors, Halls of Torment just came up as well right now. Games like Only Up, Jump King. There's a lot of great games. Hogwarts Legacy, yeah, there's a lot of great games that's come out. Hades, Final Fantasy 17. Was it 17? Yeah, the new one, whatever. Witcher, Dark and Darker. I think saying that there's no good games at the moment is not true. I think that's just because you're looking at from like a very doomer perspective, and there was no good games like there used to be, right? Power Wash Simulator, another fantastic game that came out recently. I just don't think that's true. There's a ton of amazing, great games if you want to play them, right? But I think a lot of people just don't want to play games, and they just want to remember, you know, the good old times where everything was a lot better, you know? But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of great games back in the day, but also a lot of great games now, right?
Child that is Ashes of Creation. Even that, I mean, I hope it's good, but I don't know. I'm really not placing my bets as of yet that it's going to be like a savior of the genre. It will be probably a niche popular game for at least a few months.
MMO gamers don't actually like games, they like MMOs. Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah. I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of players that just only like MMO-style games, for sure. I'm sure that there are a lot of games now, but I'm old. The new stuff is too flashy for me. Dude, I think you're just not looking at the right places for the games that might interest you. I'm gonna be real. I definitely think no matter what game you're into, there is games that are getting released that you would love. 100%. No matter what you like. If you like horror, if you like fantasy, if you like Power Wash Simulator, if you like Hades, if you like whatever you like, there is games out there that's getting released that are amazing and that you would love to play, but maybe you just don't want to play them, right? Like you don't want to search them out and actually try to enjoy them, right?
For that crowd, 1, 2, 5 years down the road, is it
the one with the
going to
guns.
maintain a sizable player base? Who knows? But who knows with most of this stuff? It is all just guesswork. But I mean, I hope they're all good. I hope every game's good. Every game on this list. Surprise me, please. All be amazing, pinnacle MMO experiences.
Surely.
That's not going to happen, but I would love it. So
I am.
How do we get here?
When it comes to MMO, I will say there's a lot of great games, but I am very cynical when it's to MMOs, and that might just be because I'm a classic Andy. But I'm definitely a lot more full of critique when it comes to those kind of games.
Seriously, we got a list of 40 MMOs, a good chunk of which launching in the next 1 to 2 years, and many of these games took, anywhere from 5 to 7 to, like I said, over 10 years to develop. And I'm not expecting a vast majority of them to last me more than a couple of weeks of playtime. Well, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of ways and explanations to how we got there. I'm sure you've seen the slew of YouTube video essays talking about why gaming today sucks. The videos that basically more or less boil down to, hey, things were kind of better when I was a child and had fewer responsibilities. Well,
that's pretty much what it boils down to. Yeah, you reminisce the good old times when you were a kid. You didn't really have a lot of responsibilities, and you just played Zelda when you came home from school, or whatever. And that's why people really have those like mindsets with that when it comes to that. I think the problem with MMOs is, unless a new one is perfect on release, nobody will stop playing the current MMO. Yeah, like they expect the perfect game to be released without any faults whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, no duh. When it comes to this particular topic of gaming sucks today, I am not a full-blown doomer on this discussion point.
I agree.
I think gaming is still amazing, and in fact, in many ways, a lot better than it's ever been. The quality and the expansiveness of so many games. There's a lot of high-quality games coming on every single year, and it's a real exciting time to play and be a fan of this hobby. And as I mentioned earlier, there are way too many good games that you just don't have time to play. There are so many games that people rave about, that people are obsessed with, that people play for years and years on end, that I've barely or never touched, and likely I know I will eventually go to the grave never touching a lot of these amazing games.
Yep, I 100% agree with this. If WoW never came out and they release it now, they released it back in 2004, nobody will play it. I mean, maybe not. It's hard to really say, right? But I do understand what you're trying to say with that for sure, Shrooms. Yeah.
So we can't say that gaming sucks because it's just an expanding library, except for the ones that get shut down. That's another video, right? I would say that in general, gaming is in a really good spot. But yes, in a lot of ways, many parts of it do suck. Or at the least, gaming and how we approach gaming and the games industry, it's quite different than how it was when we were weak kinders. Games in general are different. If I were to try to distill it into like one sentiment, I would say that games used to feel like games developed primarily for the sake of delivering an experience to the player, which they would sell you. Yes, this was always a business. Typically, there would be a single upfront cost. Maybe later they would sell expansions. So yes, you had to pay, of course, but the game still felt like it came first for a long time, for much of my childhood and my adolescence, and even when I was a young adult. Many games today feel a lot more like they're just vehicles for monetization. With the
that is true. The amount of like not RMT. I guess it is RMT in a way. The amount of transactions that like within the game that most stuff have nowadays. I do agree with that. There is a ton of that in games nowadays. It is ridiculous.
Being for like the MMO and live service genres that you will stick around and keep playing and paying more over
that is
time.
True.
Now, sure, they still need to make a game that you enjoy that keeps you around playing in order to monetize you further. But monetization being at the forefront of the entire endeavor, I think has left a lot of modern games feeling that very way. Like it permeates into the design and bleeds into the user experience. And this isn't some anti-business, anti-profit rant either. People got to get paid. Yeah. It's how these things get made in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, Twitch, I've got my account. It's like indie games tend to be passion projects, which is why I think a lot of those indie games that comes out suddenly that are just insanely great is because of that. It's like a passion project that some guy made because he had a passion for a certain style of game and wanted to showcase that in the best way possible, not necessarily make like a buttload of money on it, right?
than back in the day. But I will say that it did feel in the past like the games were being made primarily by people who loved gaming and wanted to craft their own unique experiences for other people who love gaming to enjoy. Now, though, because the industry is so massive, it's like the biggest entertainment industry bar none, right? It feels like most of the people involved in the endeavor of making games are just here for the buck. And no, I'm not talking about the developers at all. It's well known, in fact, game dev pays far below what most of these people could make if they went into other industries. But whatever their passion is for the hobby and for the craft of making games, it does seem like it gets pushed to the wayside when the higher-ups, the ones paying the bills, chime in to what sort of systems the game needs to have, what methods they need to employ to keep people playing. When they're hiring...
How can we bait people to get addicted to it with like some sort of like, you know, transactional service that could like make them make more money with it, right? I quit playing any games with loot boxes a long time ago. If I wanted to play slot machines, I'd go to Vegas. I do agree. I mean, I do play some games that still have transactional stuff within the game. But, I mean, some of those games, like, I don't know if it's like Genshin Impact or whatever that is, like those like kind of anime whatever style game, where you just see they're just like collecting boxes of like those cards to get like the perfect anime waifu, right? That's just... Yeah, it's a little bit... Maybe that's like more so like a transmog kind of style, but... Yeah. Did I ever play the Dragon Age series? No, I didn't.
Psychologists to develop these properly paced out intermittent reward schedules to keep us on that dopamine drip, to keep us playing, to keep us swiping the card.
Yeah, get addicted.
Boy, lots of fun, yeah? The systems games need to have, the methods they use to keep us playing, and how they're going to cash in on all of that. It is a big part of the reason, and like I said, it really bleeds into the experience of the game and takes away.
I think a perfect thing with this would like Diablo Immortal, man. Whenever Quinn69 spent like, I don't know how much it was, like $30,000-$40,000 to get more loot within the game faster, because he could buy like certain boxes within the rifts to make him get more loot. Like those kind of things are so predatory and so bad. I feel like that's just not really a game at that point. That's just gamba, man. You know, would love if you try Dragon Age Origins. It's simply a game that pretty much plays like classic WoW. Maybe. I don't really know what that game is really about. It depends if I like the environment and the story and like, you know, the feel of the game, I would say. I wish they banned gambling ads. They're so annoying. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not big on gambling.
Why when
I like Twitch Gamba. I think Twitch Gamba is fine because it's just like, you know, points in the chat and stuff. But on gambling, I'm not a big gambler person personally. Holds a tournament today. Maybe we'll play a little bit. We'll see.
Something like Elden Ring comes along, it feels like a breath of fresh air for so many people. I'll just speak for myself. It felt like I was stepping back in time. I just got a game. The game was great. I played the game. Damn, what year is it? What year did Elden Ring come out? 2000? Of course, there's a lot of things that made Elden...
If a player wants to spend $30,000 on a game, why should a company stop them? Well, the reason why they're doing that is because the company is like incentivizing them to do it, because it's gonna, you know, make their gaming experience a lot faster and a lot more streamlined. I have no real issue with like MTX, which is like, you know, transmog. You can buy, like, let's say you're playing a game and you can buy some transmog and like you look a little bit cooler. But whenever it diminishes it increases the time of which you spend within the game, and like it makes it easier for you to attain certain items within the game, that's where it becomes a little bit predatory for me. And I think it just diminishes the general gameplay style for me, because why would I want to spend a lot of time on something when I know someone can just buy it for money and make it a lot easier, right? It doesn't feel as gratifying to do it without spending your money if there's an option to do that, right? Public username, what's up, man? That's how I really see that, though.
Elden Ring, great.
GDKPs, to a certain degree, yeah, GDKPs as well, right? But that's not really in the same boat, I suppose, because you could still do a raid and then do it loot normally. It's a little bit of a different thing. I just feel like GDKPs are not that great for the game in general, but that's a different kind of thing. But in a way, yes, because people can just buy money via those like bad boy websites and then like just buy the gear. So yeah, in a way, yes, actually.
Plenty of YouTube video essays about that very topic.
Pay to look is fine, but pay to win is different. I agree. D Morior, thank you for the 4 months. And what's up, Mordial, as well?
of those things combined with the simplicity of the transaction.
Yes,
I give you money, you give me good game. I enjoy good game and have fun. Nice doing business with you. No cash shop, no further monetization, no season pass, none of that stuff. It's just the game. The game's there. The UI isn't intrusive trying to get me to go to the shop. I'm not logging in and seeing 17 pop-ups that show me the recent activities that I can, some of which pay money for. It's just a game that I hop in and I play. And all of that combined with Elden Ring being a good game, oh man, it was definitely a big part of, at least, again, speaking personally, what made the experience of playing Elden Ring feel so refreshing.
Elden Ring felt like a game from back in the day where like they really cared a lot about like the gameplay experience. Oh my god, Elden Ring was so goddamn good. It was fantastic, man. Like, it's just a good game. Spent 5,000 Elden coins to get a new horse. Yeah, if it would have felt weird if there was like stuff like that within the game. Like, Elden Ring was, oh my god, a good ass game, man. That's why I'm looking forward to like trying some of those similar style game-ish to that. I have plans to try out a game called Shadow of the Colossus and also Demon Souls as well. After we beat Jump King, of course. But yeah.
Against the sea of modern game design. Beyond games being different, the internet's different as well.
Yep.
For one, it didn't actually really exist when I first started gaming. So if I wanted news or info on the latest NES game, I had to typically get that from a magazine in most cases. Eventually, yeah, we got home internet, but gaming sites were a rare commodity. Usually what we were talking about were like fan pages. I made pages on Angel Fire for like Warcraft 3, or going to forums where people would just talk about the games that they enjoyed. But today, with the constant internet access, with our phones in our pockets, how you learn about games, how you follow updates, how you get news, the guides, the tips, the full playthroughs on YouTube, learning about data mined information and leaks from YouTube videos, streamers who are speed rushing and beating the game in the first day for the entire world to see. The arc of first hearing about a game to when you actually sit down and play the game, it is way, way different now than
That's not my fault, by the way. Okay, I take my time with games.
Was, say, back when I was a kid and I walked down to my friend's house and he told me about this new game called EverQuest that his mom just bought him for his birthday, and then I sat down for 8 hours watching him play and enjoyed every minute. The way we consume gaming as a hobby, the way we follow gaming as a hobby is way different. That
mom did not know what she did. When she bought EverQuest, he'll just play for a little bit, it'll keep him occupied, and then he gets like a lifelong addiction to MMOs, man. Oh, if only she knew. Oh my god, was it Bones Arch?
It's way more tuned in, and it's way more oversaturated, and I think that also plays a big role to the enjoyment that we get the moment we actually get to sit down and finally play the game. But just as, if not even in many ways more important, in my opinion, is the fact that yes, games are different, the games industry is different, yes, the presence of the internet is different. But lastly, we're different. The way that we approach games, the way we consume games, and what we expect from games today,
it's a lot more.
When we were younger, is just vastly different in most every measure. The frequency, the intensity, the speed. We're all also just better at games today than we were.
I feel like people have way less. Maybe it's because of the internet, like TikTok and Vine and like, you know, all that. Like, dude, people have like no chill anymore. It's like everything, like dopamine, constant dopamine, always. Like something happening constantly, right? It's a lot more extreme with that. I can feel it in myself as well. It's bad, man. It's actually not good at all. Off topic, but to me, it's amazing that parents actually give kids money to play games. I mean, my mom did the same. I didn't get paid allowance. Like, I didn't get like a monthly allowance, but she paid for my World of Warcraft sub. So like, I didn't get my money. My mom didn't give me money, but she was like, okay, I'll pay for your WoW sub, and that was it, right? So that's what how it was for me, at least. I don't know how y'all know how. Yeah. Live ruined, yeah. I thought it was a great deal because, like, dude, I could get to play WoW. It was like, you know, I had to pay for that. I think WoW was like 100 Danish per month, which is like, you know, $12-14 or something. So I was really lucky that my mom wanted to do that. All right.
Or in the past, which you would hope, obviously, for those of us who have racked up like decades of experience in the hobby. As we learned not too long ago with the release of Classic WoW, World of Warcraft wasn't a terribly difficult game. It's just that at the time when we started playing in 2004, everything sucked. Our computers sucked and struggled to maintain a good frame rate, causing us to always stand in the fire. The internet sucked, causing frequent lag spikes and dropped connections. And yes, we sucked. We were just bad at playing MMOs and
yelling at your parents to get off the internet because you you're in a dungeon group with your boys on your big gray CRT monitor or something like that. Maybe not your mother, but yelling at your brother. Maybe that's a little bit of a better example, but you know what I mean, right?
Bad at playing games in general. And for today, all of that has improved. The games run better, well, for the most part, barring any bad PC ports. Internet speeds are way better, so we've got steady connections more of the time. And we also have nearly 20 more years time playing games than we did when we first booted up vanilla World of Warcraft.
Oof.
With time comes experience. With that experience comes a loss of novelty. As far as I'm concerned.
And also way higher expectations. People just have so high sorry, I can't breathe. So high expectations of like games nowadays. It's way higher, man. You expect like the greatest game of all time from every single like developer, right?
Lack of novelty is one of the primary driving factors to why so many people can say that gaming isn't fun anymore compared to when it was when they were younger. The more games you play, the more you see. The more you see, the less novel new game experiences are. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself sitting down and playing a game for the first time and thinking, feels like I've already played this? It's partially true because so many games borrow ideas, structure, gameplay, systems, and features from one another that many times they all start to bleed together. And when things aren't novel, it is very hard to keep you engaged and to hold your attention. We crave variety and novelty, just in general, but this also applies to our hobbies and gaming. And both of these things are massive drivers in the motivation and desire to continue to pursue something, to, in this case, continue playing a game, to stay engaged and spend more time with it. And the fact is, the more experience you have, the more games you've played, the harder and harder it becomes for new games to surprise you. Because
to get that new, fresh experience of, wow, this was really a great game. I've never experienced anything like this before, right? And dude, it's very rare to get that feeling now because there's just so many games and they're all so similar in many ways,
in most cases, you have seen it all before. Even if you sit down and one of the games on this list, a brand new MMO just launches, you sit down for the first time, you're probably going to get some serious deja vu. You're going to think, oh boy, I've already done this fetch quest. I've already spoke to this NPC. I've already gone through this training. I've already fought this boss. You haven't technically, but you may as well have because it's all so similar enough to one another to might as well be the same. And it is really with that in mind and the key importance the novelty plays into getting enjoyment out of gaming. It is because of that, I try to remember some newly released game that feels super old hat to me is going to be some kid's first time with the genre, first time with a game type, first time with features and mechanics that will leave a lasting impression on that person. And I find it helpful when it comes to trying to enjoy games and trying to continue to enjoy the hobby after so many years, doubly so being that this has been my career, following games and playing games for coming up on 13 years now.
God damn.
I've had here on YouTube. I've spent a lot of time playing games. I've spent a lot of time talking about games, a lot of time covering games to try to really continue to enjoy it after all this time. Even if everything isn't entirely novel, it can be tough, but I think mindset does play a big role. As for these upcoming
the way that you go into playing the games with maybe not a super big expectation is, I think, quite important.
MMOs, the games on the list that we talked about here today, I'll obviously still hope that the developers themselves, the ones in charge of creating these games, do manage to craft something to create an engaging, immersive, and a novel enough experience that even someone as jaded old gamer as myself can be entertained with for at least some time. Although I still, of course, hope that every once in a while we get a game that comes along that does really craft a super unique experience that rekindles some of that flame. And
I do think there is games coming out that are like that, like big, innovative, new styles of games, right? Which is cool that even nowadays we can still get those fresh experiences with a new game.
Has a sort of go back
Valheim
to
was that for me. I never played Valheim. I never did. I maybe at some point I'm gonna get around to playing it, but damn, I think for me, like, I guess, like, I keep mentioning the same goddamn games because I don't really play a lot of games, but I mean, you know what I mean, right? Like, for me, like, Subnautica was a completely crazy experience for me. Same thing with Elden Ring. Dark and Darker, to a certain degree, also was very, very unique and very, very cool. Innovation is overrated. I feel like it's just about finding something that really works and making it as best as it can possibly be, right? But yeah.
time we experienced
Game
whatever your
series?
equivalent to World of Warcraft is to me. And I also want to say, if you were struggling with finding games that keep you engaged and games that you're interested in, and you're not wanting to go back to games that you've already played, look no further than games that other people rave about. I think that a lot of times we look on the horizon to what games that haven't been released that are upcoming, and we put a lot of hope in those, while neglecting a lot of these super popular games with huge fan bases, games that are critically acclaimed, games that are cult classics. There's a lot of games out there I know for myself that I've yet to touch that people rave about, and I'm sure you're the same way too.
I'm a goddamn classic Andy, so there's a buttload of games I still haven't tried. But in a way, that's a really great thing, because that just means that we have a lot of things that we could possibly do in the future for stream and, you know, for content and stuff. So I'm in a way not too sad about that, because there's a ton of great games I've never even tried before that I want to give a whirl for the first time, right? Like shout out to Colossus, Valheim, for instance. You know, and Silent Hill as well. I know it's coming out with a new one too. I never played that series either. Red Dead Redemption 2, right? Stuff like that.
MMO genre and in other genres. And if you're having a hard time finding motivation and finding excitement in gaming, try checking those games out. Try checking those older games that a lot of people, you've heard people speak about over the years that you just never got around to playing.
Like, wow.
That's probably my best advice for you, but also for myself. That said, we keep our fingers crossed and we hope for the best for the new stuff on the horizon. And we'll see which games on this list deliver. That does it for me today. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
All right, that was a good video. I actually really enjoyed that. It was a little talk, not just about World of Warcraft in general, but just about gaming. Actually, very, very nice video there. This guy's almost at a million subs, by the way. Holy crap. I'll link the video right here, guys. And there it is, man. Very, very interesting talk. I do think in general, though, like gaming nowadays, a lot of people say that it's very bad and it's dying and whatever, but I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think a lot of people just don't want to seek new games out. And if you do want to seek them out and you do want to try to play some new games, there's a ton of amazing games no matter what kind of stuff you're into, right?